Shalom Yasha'Allah. First and foremost, I'm going to get all praises and honor and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash, the balance of our apostles and others, a great millstone who rule well, and peace and blessings to the hopeful elect that puts this great gospel in sincerity and truth. This is your brother Tazakai Yahweh from the great millstone Indianapolis camp, coming at you another lesson through the spirit and the power of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, and Lord willing be edifying. Got an article from the Guardian.com, and it reads, hundreds of thousands of people take French Street. Take French streets amid fears of violence. It says minister says 13,000 police deployed as Macron vows not to waver on unpopular pension policies. And this came out March 28th, 2023, the hopeful year that all these prophecies come to pass. And it reads, hundreds of thousands of people have taken in part in street protests and strikes across France amid fears of violent clashes with police as demonstrations come over Emmanuel Macron's use of constitutional executive powers to push through an unpopular raise of the pension age. The Interior Minister, Gerard Darmanin, said 13,000 police have been deployed, 5,500 of them in Paris alone. He said that record numbers was justified by a major risk to public order, right? Because what they experience is what you would call disorder, right? It's the protest movement against raising the pension age from 62 to 64 is the biggest domestic crisis of Macron's second term, with the strikes on Tuesday affecting refineries, bin collections, rail transports, air travel, and schools. Authorities in Paris and several other cities were braced for clashes between police and protesters. The social state and the social safety net is disappearing, said Francois, I believe that's it, a social worker who was due to retire in 3 months at 63 and was demonstrating in Paris. Yves, a former teacher and factory worker who retired at 59, said, people are demonstrating on the street because citizens aren't being listened to. We're afraid of being tear gassed by the police, but the police should be protecting us. In this 25 from Seine Saint-Denis, I believe, who had worked as a supermarket cashier in a fast food chains, said this is about workers on the street fighting for their rights. The crisis has intensified because of controversy over policing tactics, with lawyers complaining of arbitrary arrests, injuries, and heavy-handedness during crowd control. A 30-year-old man was fighting for his life in a coma on Monday after anti-government feeling spread in the west of France beyond the issues of pensions for environmental demonstrations spurred by the impact of new water storage facilities for crop irrigation. The man suffered head trauma during clash between protesters and police, so he got put in a coma. He got hit hard as hell. He said an investigation is underway to determine the circumstances. It said the IGPN, the Internal Affairs Unit of the French police, said it had launched 17 investigations into incidents and allegations against police across France in recent weeks. More than 30,000, not 30,000, but more than 30 lawyers wrote an open letter to Le Monde on Monday stating their great concern over what they call arbitrary arrest of hundreds of people, accusing the police of using the judicial system and arrests as a tactic to put people off protesting. The head of Paris police, has said all the arrests were justified. Darmanin said many police officers have been injured during the protests. So, as you see, clashes between, the protesters and the police, which goes into what the prophecy said what would happen. According to 2 Kings 15, Lord, when we get that. But going on, it says the Council of Europe said on Friday that peaceful protesters and journalists had to be protected from police violence and arbitrary, I don't know if I said that right, arrests. What began as 2 months of regular peaceful trade union organized strike days has shifted to more impromptu protest gatherings over the past 10 days. There have been pockets of unrest in many cities and towns after dark, with fires lit on streets and property vandalized. Attacks on politicians, constituencies, offices have increased since Macron's decision to push through the pensions changes, bypassing the lower house of parliament. A preparatory note by French intelligence services began before Tuesday's trade union-led day of day of strike and protest, said many more young people were likely to take part, perhaps twice or three times as many as on the last day of strike actions last Thursday, French media reported. According to the Daily Le Parisien, the note said the topic of repression and police violence could focus young people's anger. Many young people at first didn't feel affected by the pension changes, but joined the movement last week, indignant at the use of executive powers contained in the Article 49.3 of the Constitution to bypass Parliament after the government feared it would not get enough votes. Authorities are expecting clashes and violence similar to last Thursday's coordinated strike day when bus stops, newspaper chaos, and traffic lights were smashed in Paris and hundreds of fires lit on pavement amid running clashes with police. Public buildings have been targeted, including the Bordeaux City Hall and a police station in Lorient. The Interior Ministry blamed far-left groups. On Monday, the Louvre Museum in Paris was blocked by striking museum workers and could not open. Pickets continued at patrol depots and waste incinerators, particularly surrounding Paris, where 8,000 tons of rubbish were still piled up in the streets and across half of the city after weeks of bench strikes. Paris City Hall said it would clear piles of refuse from the route or refuse from the route of Tuesday Street March to try to avoid fires being lit. They say France's Civil Aviation Authority has told airlines at Orly Airport in Paris, as well as at airports in Bordeaux, Marseille, and Toulouse, to cancel 20% of flights for Tuesday and Wednesday. During that time period was at March 28th. They say a high school union said that up to 200 schools were blockaded by pupils. And Macron summoned the Prime Minister Elizabeth Borne, as well as government ministers and senior politicians for a crisis meeting on Monday as tension ran high. The French president was supposed to have been hosting King Charles for a day of pomp and ceremony on Monday, but had to cancel the state visit because of the demonstration. Right? Because they got on his ass too. I think it was already showing where they was throwing like tomatoes and stuff at him. I believe there was a video going around about that. So hey man, people is upset and they mad, and what I'm saying, when you do things as such as that they see as what unjustified, man, the people gonna take action. Yeah, that's what's going on. So it's a let's see. French opposition politicians on the left and right said France's image and diplomacy have been damaged by the last-minute cancellation. We have to find the right path. We need to calm down, Borne told AFP, saying the government will not drop the pension changes. She said she was ready for a dialogue with unions on other labor issues, including demanding jobs, conditions for older workers, and retraining. But Laurent Berger, the head of the moderate CFDT union, who has taken an unexpected hard line against the pension reform, said he would accept the offer of talks, but only if the reform was first put to one side. The government has vowed to hold firm, uncertain of how many days of strike action would be called. Berger said the prime minister must come up with a very big move on pensions. So that's what's going on over there right now in France. Then we also got something going on, in our homeland. So-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans who go back to the seed line of Israel. Well, to Jacob, whose name was changed to Israel, and then the speckled bird who may look like other nations who go back to him as well. So I don't want to read all of it because I think it's a little lengthy. Don't want to, for the sake of time, it's a little, yeah. But we try to get like the important pieces of it. So it says, so from USA Today, it say, unrest in Israel temporarily derails Prime Minister Netanyahu's judicial reforms. Here's what we know. Right now, right here and then there, this right here should strike, be like, that'd be a little weird because it's talking about unrest in Israel. But then again, if it said that those are the true people over there, the nation wouldn't learn war no more. It won't be no pain, there won't be no suffering. It won't be anything out of order. Everything will be ran peacefully through the law, statutes, commandments. That's pursuant to who was that? Micah chapter 4 and Isaiah chapter 2. But obviously, then they send them missiles over there, the Gaza Strip, all this and that. This right here proves that these are not the people. Like, look at this devil right here. You know what I mean? But that just shows that these are not the people. So whatever. Just want to add that. But going on, it says, and this came out March 27th, so a day before the previous article, 2023. The hopeful year that all of these prophecies come to pass, all the prophecies of Yahweh Shemashah come to pass. And it reads, Israeli, right? Prime Minister Benjamin, my brother Barzal be like, he used to call him Benjamin, not a, not a J, but, Netanyahu. On Monday, temporarily suspended his controversial judicial reform legislation that had led to mass protests and caused anger across most parts of society, including the military. Why the hell did they keep putting this on there? They say the plan has been delayed until after the Knesset, Israel's parliament recesses. Lawmakers will be back for their next parliamentary session at the end of April. So, when there's an opportunity to avoid civil war through dialogue, I, as prime minister, they was also calling. They made headlines, said what was going on in France, like a civil war and all this and that, whatever the case may be. We know it's just disorder and uproars of the people, civil unrest, whatever you want to call it. But it says, as prime minister, am taking the time out for dialogue. Netanyahu said in a nationally televised address, he struck a conciliatory tone, but said he was determined to proceed with the judicial system changes. The overhaul was being driven by Netanyahu and his allies in Israel's most right-wing government ever. It has plunged Israel into one of its worst domestic crises and led to an intensifying protest movement. Again, these were the people. This would be unheard of. This would be absurd. This should not be going on if they was the people. If those are the true people over there in our land right now. Can't stress that enough. But going on, Netanyahu, who is on trial for corruption charges, insists the reforms will prevent overreach for Israel's court. But opponents say the move is at least partly aimed at helping Netanyahu with his legal troubles and is a threat to Israel's democratic ideals. There are also fears over what the new laws could mean for Netanyahu's hardline policy towards Palestinians. One of his government ministers who supports the overhaul recently denied the existence of the Palestinian people and their right to self-determination. Strikes, highway bonfires, and grounded airplanes. The opposition to Netanyahu's plan threatened to upend Israel's economy as labor unions launched a nationwide strike. Malls and ports were closed and airlines were grounded. The chaos came after protesters poured to the streets of Jerusalem and Tel Aviv in response to Netanyahu's abrupt ousting of his defense minister, who had opposed the judiciary overhaul. On Sunday, the protests included highway bonfires and knocking down police barricades outside Netanyahu's home in Jerusalem. Over the weekend, Defense Minister Yoav Gallant said in a statement that the judiciary plan proposed a security threat to Israel, which prompted his firing. Military reservists have refused to sign up for the duty because of the plan. Gallant had been the first senior member of Netanyahu's political party to speak out against the plan. Still, many in the party were urging the prime minister to press ahead. Biden administration warns of need to preserve democratic values. The crisis has concerned officials in U.S., traditionally Israel's closest ally, which we know why. They say democratic values have always been and must remain a hallmark of the U.S.-Israel relationship. National Security Council spokesperson Adrian Watson said in a statement Sunday. Watson said there was urgent need for compromise. On Monday, the White House welcomed Netanyahu's decision to pause the judicial changes. We continue to strongly urge Israeli leaders to find a compromise as soon as possible, White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre told reporters democratic societies are strengthened by checks and balances, and fundamental changes to the democratic system should be pursued with the broadest possible base of popular support. Jean-Pierre said that when President Joe Biden and Netanyahu spoke by phone earlier this month, the two leaders had a very honest conversation in which Biden emphasized that democratic values have always been the hallmark of the U.S.-Israeli relationship. So U.S. support for Israeli security and democracy remains ironclad, Jean-Pierre said. That is continuing to be the case, but we will always have those honest, frank conversations with our partners, with our friends as well. It's let me see. Oh yeah, we were gonna read down that. It say the growing resistance to Netanyahu's judicial plan saw Israel's leader dismiss his defense minister over the weekend after Yoav Gallant called for the reforms to be paused. On Monday, Isaac Herzog, Israel's president, who plays a largely ceremonial role in government, also urged Netanyahu to quickly halt the overhaul. He said, the entire nation is wrapped with deep worry. Our security, economy, society are all under threat, Herzog said in the statement. Wake up now. It says, let me see. And I guess we done pretty much read all of it. So I guess it's Israel's largest trade union announced a strike Monday that led to a suspension of some air travel at the country's main airport in Tel Aviv. Other local government offices that oversee preschools and essential services also said they will walk out. Some of the strikes were immediately called off after Netanyahu's announcement, but it remained unclear what his intervention will mean for the large-scale protests. Hundreds of thousands of Israelis have spent almost 3 months rallying in cities across Israel. When the true people be there, that would be that would not even be a thought. They say the reforms will pass. Itamar Ben Gvir wrote on Twitter after it became apparent that Netanyahu was considering a temporary halt to the proposed legislation. Ben Gvir is a far-right politician who is national security minister in Netanyahu's government. No one will scare us, he said. The scale of the dissent in Israel has been rare. It has included military reservists, Navy veterans, high-tech business people, and former officials. Netanyahu faced sizable protests from Israelis living overseas during recent trips to London and Paris. So, I mean, that's pretty what's going on over there. So, again, you got the civil unrest going on in France. You got it going on over here in Israel. And it's also going on in various places. There's just strikes over here in Babylon the Great as well. I forgot which state. But it's going on around the world. It was some going on down in South America, other places in Europe, so this is what the world has, spiraled it down into. It's just chaos, saying and destruction. But that's what the scriptures foretold as far as what was going to happen, right? So let's go get right into it. This is 2nd Ezra chapter 15. I'm going to start at verse 1. It said, behold, speak thou in the ears of my people. Right? The words of prophecy. The people Yahweh Bashim El are who? So-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. And again, like I say, the speckled bird who look like the heathen because we are scattered amongst them via the curses. But they seed line go back to the 12 tribes of Israel. And the words of prophecy meaning what? Where does the words of prophecy come from? From the scriptures. And what does prophecy mean? To say before. So he's speaking that what's going to happen before it actually happens. That's why you ought to what? Said, seek ye the Lord while he may be found, and call upon him while he is near. Other scriptures say what? Hear his prophets. Listen to them. Listen to the words. Listen to the mouthpiece of Yahweh Bashim Shai, so that you may be well informed of the things to come, right? Or you can listen to the words and hey, it be to your detriment, But at the end of the day, we trying to be of the hopeful elect, so we want to be saved during these perilous times, when everything come to pass, so to speak, to receive salvation. It says, which I will put in thy mouth, saying, Yahweh Bashim Shai. Again, it's the Lord putting the words in the mouth of his men. These words do not come from their own accord, right? These come from the Spirit, from Yahweh Bashim Shai, and cause to be written in paper. That's why we have these scriptures, right? For they are faithful and true, because the Most High is not like man that he should lie. He's not going to lie to you. He ain't like Ray that he borrowed $10 and he gonna get back tomorrow, and you ain't see Ray in 3 years. He's not gonna lie to you like that, right? So, like say, for they are faithful and true, fear not the imaginations against thee, let not the incredulity or unbelief of them trouble thee that speak against thee, right? We don't fear what, like this one guy that comes out now with named Dr. Brown, what he trying to speak on. Don't care about what you talking about. You know what I'm saying? We don't care about what Christians are talking about. Don't care about what all these other religious groups are talking about. Don't care about what 2/3 of our people are talking about. Don't care about what the heathens are talking about, and so forth and so on. We don't care. You don't have to believe it. It is what it is, whether you like it or not. But we'll tell you this, hey, that if the Lord spoke it, then guess what? We definitely go, hey, we on board with the Yahweh Bashim Shai say. We on one accord with them, right? So, hey, marvel not and don't be afraid when people speak against you, because why? It's a part of the prophecy. It's supposed to happen, right? You say this because this was going to happen to them. For all the unfaithful shall die in their unfaithfulness. So you don't believe, then guess what? The end of the road for you is what? Death. So hey, continue to not believe. What is that to us? Right? Behold, saith the Lord, Yahweh Shem Shai, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction. And that's what's going on in these various places. These civil unrests, they talking about lighting, things getting lit on fire, like I said, there's protests going on in Iran too and stuff like these. It's a lot of destruction follow after that. People die as well, right? The sword as well. You see the people. Somebody got hit in the damn head and went into a coma. You know what I'm saying? So this is what Yahweh Shemashai is bringing to this current eon, this current world. So if you think things don't get better for the sake of carnality, I just want to do what I want to do, want to live my life. No, that is not what's going to happen. You are sadly mistaken, and you're going to be left out there to dry when the time period to come. This eon is being taken down, right? For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. When Jacob's world comes, if y'all are Israelites, that's when you're going to prosper. Likewise, not you individual, but the world in itself is going to prosper under the righteous rulership under the Israelites. It's talking about Yahweh, why Yahweh shine the rest of the order on down, right? So this is not the life where much glory doeth abide, as the scriptures say in the previous chapters of Ezra. So when we hear about things like this, we give our praise to Yahweh Shemashah because he made good on his word by taking this man out. Right? So why all these things come in? What? For wickedness have exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled. So that's why, because wickedness. That's why these things are happening. Right? Now I want to get this too, because while this is about uproar, it's about civil unrest. Right? 2 Ezra 9, chapter 1. He answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself. Right? So how you measure the time diligently in itself? You take what's happening in the real world and what you do, you tie it to the scriptures, to the prophecies of Yahweh Shemel Shai, because it's going to say, and what I see as part of the signs past, what is those signs? The prophecies, which I have told you before. Where have you been told them before? They're written over here in the scriptures. Okay, from the prophets of old time. That's why I say the scriptures are written aforetime for our learning, right? So we understand and learn what's coming to pass through the spirit of Yahweh Shemel Shai. Right? Because if he don't give you the spirit, you're not going to understand it anyway. As the second verse say what? Then shalt thou understand that it's the very same time where the highest begin to visit the world which he made. Right? And the understanding comes from Yahweh Shemel Shai. So we understand what all these various things are going on in the world. Whether it be civil unrest, whether it be war, whether it be famines, whether it be pestilences, whether it be strife, you know what I'm saying? Destruction. Whatever the case may be. This is Yahweh Shemel Shai visiting this place, right? Verse 3. Therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world. See, this is so the uproars, these civil unrest. This is part of what? The visitations. This is part of the signs of Yahweh Shemel Shai. People say, "Oh, people always protesting." No, that's what people say. Well, guess what? Those protests is a part of prophecies. Verse 4. Then shalt thou what? And then the protests ain't been at a high volume as they are now in recent years. Can't say that. But you definitely can say now this time is every shit is an uproar going on every damn day. Right? It say, verse 4. Then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning, because while he declared the end of the world from the beginning. Everything was already set in stone before it even happened. It already happened in the spirit before it was supposed to be manifested here in the physical on earth. So it was always so for these things to happen. The destruction of this place, the nuclear thermal war, all that, the famines, this and that, everything was already written before time. It was already put in place before time before it actually happened. We just planned it out. And Lord will not, as it plays out, we be a part of the hopeful that to be saved out of this and not be destroyed with the rest of the undesirables. 2/3 the heat is alike. Right? And then we go get to the point, like I said, I know those articles are a little lengthy, but the water for bearing with. This is 2 Ezra chapter 15, verse 14. It say, what? Woe unto the world and them that dwell in it. Woe means lamentations, death, destruction. Woe is not a good thing. And that's what's coming to the world and them that dwell therein. Who dwells within the world? The people. right? Well, animals too, but the people, right? They say, for the sword their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. Didn't I say that the protesters are clashing with the police? Right? You got the left wing people going against the right wing people, right? So that's what one people stand up against another people. This can go into your class wars, your civil wars, societal wars, race wars, whatever you want to call it, right? And swords in their hands. So, over there they may have batons and stuff like that. But a sword is an instrument that's any type of instrument that's used for killing. You could kill somebody with a baton. You could tear gas the hell out of somebody to death. Like, what I'm saying? In some cases, man, they've been ordered in other countries, they've been ordered to shoot on sight, like in Sri Lanka when they was having civil unrest. So, hey, these things are happening, right? But this is what's going on right now when they say the protesters was fighting against the police. That was one people standing against, another, right? For there shall be sedition among men, right? And invading one another. And they shall not regard their kings nor princes, and of course their actions shall stand their power. Now, real quick, I got that word. Sedition. Well, this sedition. It's a rebellion, an uprising, a revolt, a factitious commotion in the state, concerted attempt to overthrow civil authority. So you see what it say? Violent strife between factions, civil. This is a civil thing going on, or religious disorder, rebelliousness, a going apart, a separation. That they're not seeing eye to eye. They're not on one accord. That's why these things are happening. So when they say for there should be a sedition among men, that's what's going on. Somebody went up there and like, man, this is BS, man. Get my side together and strike, and everybody see what they did, and they just monkey see, monkey do, right? You incited uprising, so to speak. But that's what's going on right now. And they say they shall not regard their kings or princes, and of course they're actually standing their power. Then they say that they go into they went to the parliament members' homes. They went to the president's homes, and we going to y'all house with it. They not regard kings and princes. Oh, the police officers. We coming at y'all. Other political figures, stuff like that. When people mad, they don't give a damn who you are. They look at you as you are the problem. This is why we out here. That's why they go into people's houses and homes. Like in Sri Lanka, they went. Man, they was in there. They kicked them people. Y'all got to go. They was all in their house, kicked up in the pool with clothes on. Man, they was over there chilling over there. Y'all got to go. And that's the vibration. That's the spirit that Yahweh Shema Shai is gonna put on the people in the world. And then what's gonna happen? You're gonna have that martial law. They're gonna send forth that military. It's gonna be it's gonna all play how Yahweh Shema Shai has it going by with these prophecies. It's all gonna happen. It's all gonna come to pass. Right? So of course they're actually standing their power because why? The Lord put the spirit on them to rebel, to revolt. For what? For prophecy to come to pass. So that's ultimately what's going on. Like I said, there's other rebellions, there's other uprisings going on around the world. But, these was two major ones, especially with everything going on with the EU and NATO, this and that. Then, of course, in our homeland with the gutter rats over there. So just some things that, I seen, that through the Spirit wanted me to share. That probably was already shared anyway, but hey, through the Spirit wanted to share to, the flock, so to speak. So, Lord willing, this lesson was edifying to sincere Akwafim out there listening. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash, the honor to our apostles, the elders, and great millstone, Ruel, and peace and blessings to the hopeful elect that's put to the great gospel in sincerity and truth. Shalom, Yasha Allah, Bye, Ball.